So when it comes to the cons of JVing with a vendor, obviously the biggest one is the negotiation process, because trying to persuade a vendor to go into moving their property into an SPV with you as opposed to selling it on the open market is a very difficult sell. And as we discussed previously, you've got to make sure it's financially viable. But the biggest con, without a shadow of a doubt, has got to be the legal process and the costs involved in making sure that everyone is protected and making sure that everyone is looked after throughout that process. And also the constant back and forth, the constant negotiating, the constant vendor solicitor saying, don't do this, don't do that, don't go into this deal, etc. It can really put some fear into the vendor. So one of the things I would say is be prepared potentially to lose quite a bit of cash when going into a deal, because you could get quite a bit into the legal process. They could take counsel from their solicitor, all of a sudden be told, oh, we don't think you should do this, and all of a sudden they pull out the deal and you lose everything that you spent on the deal to that point. So I would try as early as possible to lock vendors in, make sure they understand the process, make sure they understand the risks, make sure they understand the process, get good accountants involved, get good solicitors involved, have a complete process from start to finish ready to go, so that when you present it to them, they understand everything that's going to be asked of them. Get them to take legal counsel before you start the process, because if they do that later down the line, there's a worry that you're going to have spent loads of money and obviously lose that. So make sure the vendor is secure, happy, ready to go as early as possible, because the last thing you want to do is spend out on valuations and QS fees, monitoring surveyor fees, legal fees, all of these fees, only for them to pull out at the 11th hour because they've realised it's too risky for them or something like that. So without a shadow of a doubt, you need to make sure that that vendor is locked down as early as possible. And one of the last cons is obviously just making sure that you understand the tax implications, how you're going to get the vendor out at the back end, how the shareholding agreement is going to be sorted, how everything else is going to be structured to make sure that not only can they get in, but they can get out as well, and to make sure that you're protected in their exit as well. So a few cons just to keep an eye on, but if you can get over those, definitely one of the best strategies that you will take on.